Uh, Hello, everyone. We're here again. It's episode 55. And once again, I've got Delboy with me. And thank you, as always, Delboy, for coming on. And thank you, everyone, for watching us every week. And if you've got any comments, say we always love going through all your comments and ask any questions that you want. Don't matter what it is, you ask the question and we'll be more than happy. So I ask my usual question. You know what it is. Bayek, what have you been watching this week, lad?
And I wish I could say a lot more than it's going to be. I'll tell you what, there's going to be a time where I'm going to come on and say, do you know what? I've got my routine now with my mum so down to pat that I can watch 10 films in a week, and happening at the moment.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is that when I go to bed at night, there's an awful lot of good stuff that's on telly, for old films, and I've also got my streaming. I've also got my streaming stuff that I can stream to my TV, and I can watch an awful lot of my films that I've bought on Steelbook, in digital format. So it's not like it's impossible. It's just that's the way things are at the moment. I just want to say hello to everybody. Thanks very much for all your support. It's been a bit of a difficult weekend this weekend because I was so exhausted. My blog may have looked like I was drunk when actually I was just so tired. I was stopping and starting and all of that sort of stuff. And it's very difficult. When you're doing a blog, you need to have a trained thought. I don't know if anybody's done this, but look, the best thing I can ask you to do is sit in front of a mirror, right? Sit in front of a mirror, talk for 2 hours, non-stop, right? And if you haven't got a trained thought on something, then basically it can go all over the shop and it can go bad really quick. But I'm distracted because of my mother, and of course I wouldn't have it any other way. My mum's not well, and she's my number one priority. But saying that, everybody's been wonderful. They've left great comments. They wish me well. I want to wish everybody in the room a wonderful night. I hope you're going to have fun. There are some friends of ours, Ian, that have just started up doing their chat again. Pete's one. I wish him well.
Yeah.
He started doing his chat again.
Right.
I think Ryan was on this week and he started again. I wish him well. It's almost like the sun has come out and everybody now suddenly wants to do a chat or something. It's like I would have thought that when the dark nights are about, that's when you want to do a chat, and then when the light comes out, you want to be in the pub and actually having a fun time. But there you are. I mean, take it like this. I'm expecting you to have less DVDs sent in the post to you because Tony York should be in the pub
here we
now.
go.
Pissed, right? And he ain't got time to go to that bloody post office and send stuff to you. As far as I'm concerned, everything should be sort of like settling down. But what have I been watching? I'm digressing a little bit. Let me see if I can. I mean, I have watched some of these that I'm about to show, although they are really what's been released, that I've got. So this is a fantastic film, Pale Rider. I've always loved Pale Rider. Pale Rider's just one of those westerns that I think got swallowed up, when it was released. I mean, it never got a bad review, but it's just that it got caught up in that westerns are no longer great type thing. Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether you agree, but this month coming up is like Clint Eastwood month, because I'm telling you now, you've got the good, the bad, the ugly. You've got, you've got A Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, and you've got Dirty Harry. And Dirty Harry is the one that I want. It's like, oh my god, if you could bring a smile to my face, Dirty Harry is going to be the one that I want. And I've heard, and I've only heard, the picture quality is absolutely outstanding, but that's only what I've heard. Now, I did watch this, and I haven't watched it in years and years and years and years and years, right? And that's Stripes. Now, Stripes came at that time. It came at that comedy time for me, right? Where I was watching on rental certain excerpts of Saturday Night Live that you could buy, you could rent from Blockbusters or your local video store, right? We didn't really have Saturday Night Live as an American product that you could watch. It wasn't even on in the early evenings. And Saturday Night Live was starting to disband, and the people that were there were starting to go into the movies. We're talking Bill Murray, John Belushi, Steve Martin. All of these were just about to leave. They were just about to do their film. So Steve Martin went and did The Jerk. John Belushi went and did Animal House. Bill Murray went out and did Caddyshack and Stripes. And then you've got things like the offskirts, of things like John Candy and all of that sort of stuff. So Stripes came at the time where I'd just watch, I think, what was that one? Sergeant Benjamin. Do you remember Sergeant Benjamin?
Oh, yeah, Private Benjamin.
Private
Goldie
Benjamin,
Hawn,
that's
isn't
it. Private Benjamin, that's it.
Private Benjamin, yeah.
So it was sort of in vogue. But I still say I think Private Benjamin has the edge over Stripes. But Stripes was fun. Yeah. It's definitely a Bill Murray vehicle. Do you know what I mean? There is no doubt he's got his stamp on it. And to be quite honest, Caddyshack I think is a funnier film. But that's probably because it's a puppet that's in it. Everybody likes the puppet, really. So but Stripes is one of those films that, look, if you can get it cheap, I think it's worth you picking up. It's definitely those early 80s comedies. Animal House totally trumps it, but it's a good film. Just like I'd recommend Blazing Saddles and all of those from those earlier times. You know what I mean? But Saturday Night Live, I've got some very funny things I used to watch with Saturday Night Live. John Belushi used to have this samurai delicatessen. I don't know if you remember it. He used to be dressed up in samurai garb, and he had this sandwich delicatessen, and he used to make sandwiches with his samurai sword. It's just some crazy stuff that was going on in Saturday Night Live. We all know about The Brutalist, so there's less said really needed to be said about that one. But this came in the post on Monday, and everybody's seen it, and that's Anora. So I've got my Criterion. I've got my Criterion edition of Anora. I was glad that I held on. I'm really looking forward to watching that again. I do think it's a class film. It really is quite a class film. And that's the one I'm looking forward to watching between now and the weekend, because I've heard the picture's good on that as well. But that's other than that, music. I've been listening to a lot of music, but it's all one artist, and it's all based on you. You turned around to me and you said you don't know anybody who knows more about Elton John than me. Well, yeah, there are actually a lot of people out there that know more about Elton John than me. I can have my ass.
I know there are some YouTube channels.
Right. Yeah.
I know you're pretty knowledgeable.
In fact, actually, you turned around and said, why don't you start doing some shorts and do your top 5 tracks out of each album or something like that, right? I actually had a look, and there's this one guy. Oh my God, he's got a spreadsheet. He marks it out of 10. He puts all of the tracks together, gets an average out of it, and then starts marking the top 20 albums by Elton John. Plus he does is what I would like as a dream concert, what tracks I'd like to listen to in my dream concert. God, he goes well over the top, but he like me listens to the music in a way that's probably different to a normal listener. Because I studied piano, and I'm trying to get back into playing piano. And when he's discussing a track that he likes, he actually sits at the piano. and he actually plays parts of the song. And he said, so this is in a major minor key, and he'll go, so this is a diminished seventh. And he goes like this, and this is a trait of Elton John, and he does this to tell a tale, and I'm going, bloody hell. And you're telling me I ought to go out there and start talking about Elton John. Bollocks to that. I've seen this bloke, and I tell you what, there's absolutely no way now in this wide world am I going to do that. So I thought to myself, I'll do Jerry Goldsmith. No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Well, fair enough.
I did that to get Jerry Goldsmith's name out the way, right? Yeah. Out the way. It is out the way. It is and the only other thing to mention is that I've been watching The Last of Us season 2. That's going from strength to strength. I believe there's a number of Star Wars ones that have started this week. I'm behind with a lot of TV, but I will always big up The Last of Us because I think it is a quality product in much the same way that Game of Thrones and House of Dragons and all of that are. You can tell the ones that are written in quality and have had a lot of money put into it and don't go off the beaten path too much. They know what their audience want, and that's what you get, right? I do like a program that takes risks, right? That there is stuff that you don't need to take that much of a risk. My God, right? And there is some shit right out there. But that's it. That's it from me. I'm longing to hear what you've been watching and listening to, because then I can go to sleep, you see. So carry on.
Exactly. You need to, especially when I get on to what I watched right at the end. You'll be probably fast asleep when I mention what music I've listened to or what I've been concentrating on. That's your favorite bit, let's be honest. So what films I watched? Well, let's start. You sent me a download of Death of a Unicorn. Now, Death of a Unicorn is kind of a film where I watched it and wasn't quite sure what it was, in the sense of, was it a horror? Was it a horror comedy? I wasn't sure because there's a lot of that element in it. Or was it something that was showing unicorns, not in a horrific way, but the mystical side of unicorns? But I don't know. It was one of those films where I watched it, wasn't sure what I'd just watched. It was like that. Jenna Ortega's in it, and she's on fire. Whatever she's in, she's just brilliant, and she's great in the film. So that kind of lifted the film for me because she was in it. But it was, I don't know, about unicorns. On paper it seems like, it's another horror sort of take, and I'm thinking, oh, not another where they're trying to make something horrific and everything, the horn business. But then this horn that's attached to the unicorn is sort of, they're using it as if it's some sort of magical thing, which when people are touched by that, it can cure them and do all sorts of things like that. So we had that element in it, but then it became farcical in places, and it was quite silly. So I don't know what to make of it. It's not something I should watch it again, but it's not something I want to rush to watch again. It was like that. I'd love to see what other people think about this film, Death of a Unicorn, because where do you put it? Is it what they say, an horror comedy? But is it? I don't know. So that's how I was like that. Now, the other film that I sometimes I just get this urge to do my sort of comfort viewing, and here it is, my comfort viewing. I watched them all again, all the Final Destination films. I love, and of course, there's a new one coming out, isn't there? Very
Yeah.
soon. And I thought it had ended. It's a great ending. That last film, Final Destination 5, it's so clever the way it ends. And you're thinking, why have they made another one? But I do love the series. So obviously, I'll be fascinated to see where they're doing it, or what sort of ideas they've got, because it's a great, it's a series I've always liked, and I've seen it so many times, and you watch it over and over, and I just love it. The whole concept's great. Um, everything about it, I really enjoy the ideas. Maybe sometimes even the later ones, which might be considered weaker, I still enjoy them.
I think
it's like that.
I think the last Final Destination film I watched, which wasn't long ago, I think I watched the 3D one on my VR headset. That one
Oh, there, right. Oh, yeah.
It was in 3D, and I wanted to see what it was like.
Yeah.
That was quite good. That's the one that's in the sort of like car thing, isn't it? The drag race.
Oh yeah, yes, that one. Yeah. I quite like that one. And Tony Todd.
That's where engines sort of like fly through the sky and land on people's heads. And
yeah. I like the Fun Fair one as well. You've got Tony Todd's voice as well, doing the sort of devil on the. Brilliant. It's almost like a films that I just watch. I've seen them so many times, and you just get drawn to watching them. They're a bit like Friday the 13th films, up to probably 8, that I just want to watch for some reason. Now, just before I came on, I had a message on my phone that a film has arrived for me, and somebody sent me.
What do you mean, somebody? What do you mean, somebody?
I'm just gonna, and it isn't Tony York. Sean, he supports my channel quite a lot,
Well, you mean we got another bastard who's sending you boxes of stuff now? I mean, Jesus crying out loud.
Yeah. He likes my channel for some.
Might as well just end it here. Fucking hell. No, go
on. But anyhow, he sent me a film I've wanted to see, never owned, and never seen it, and yet it's considered a really good film. It's Mulholland Drive. I've never seen this film.
Mulholland Drive.
It's a Lynch film, and David Lynch is just a great director. So I'm really looking forward to watching this. Be excited to actually see that one. And then, as you now go on, have again a bit more Tony York rant here.
Here we go.
I watched this one as well. Flesh and Blood, Rutger Hauer in this, and it's great. It's set in 1500. It's in Europe. It doesn't say specifically which country. It's just a great bit of fun. I found him quite funny in this film. The cat inside the castle, and
hang on. Just before you go any further, which would you rank higher? Right, Flesh and Blood or Ladyhawke? Or Ladyhawke?
You know what? I'm going to say I haven't seen Ladyhawke. I've never seen it. So
you haven't seen Ladyhawke?
Yeah, I've never seen Ladyhawke. So, what is he in that? Is he in that?
Yeah.
Who's in Ladyhawke?
Ladyhawke is that unusual one where two lovers are split apart. By an evil wizard, and he does it in the most horriblest way, where one of them turns into a hawk during the day, and the other one turns into a sort of like a wolf or a panther at night, so they can never be together.
Oh, right.
You see what I mean? And Matthew Broderick is there, and basically he tries to break the spell.
Yeah.
It's got Rutger Hauer. It's got Matthew Broderick, and it's got, oh my God, what's her name from When Harry Met Sally?
Oh, frankly,
Forgotten her name. I'll have to look it up because it's pissing me off. Melanie Griffiths, is it? No, hang on.
No, it's not Melanie Griffiths.
Yeah, I know. Hang on. When Harry Met Sally. It's just I can never remember the bloody names of these people. Meg Ryan. No, Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
Meg Ryan. So you know, basically, I like the film, but somebody asked me, I think it was Wee Bob actually. He said, "Can you name a film that's got a terrible score?" Well, not a terrible score, a score that doesn't fit the film. Lady Hawk is one of them.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, it's Michelle Pfeiffer. I got it wrong as well. Anyway, it's Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, she's all right.
Right, it's Michelle Pfeiffer.
Her, yeah.
Anyway, Lady Hawk is done by the lead of the Alan Parsons project.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's a very prog rock type track.
Yeah.
It's set. It's almost set in Arthurian times, so it doesn't fit.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It
sounds good.
They would almost do better. They would almost do better if they'd have got Rick Wakeman doing his Arthur.
Yeah.
the whole Arthur and the Round Table album and put it into the bloody film. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is where I had to turn around and say to Wee Bob, but that's not to say that it's a terrible score, because I love the score. I bought the double album from La La Records when it came out. Right? When La La Records brought out the expanded score, I bought it. And it cost me 50 quid, 60 quid after import duties.
Oh.
So anyway, the only reason I mentioned it is because Lady Hawk is very probably a little bit like Flesh and Blood in the fact that it's set in the same sort of setting. That's all. From what you were telling me. Carry on.
Yeah. Well, I was interested. It made me start, sometimes something just strikes you. And what strikes me in this film, there's a bloke in it who designs the siege things that they use to try and get into the castle, and he's there with this thing that he designs, and it all goes over. And it made me think. I think, oh yeah, there would have been people whose job it was to design these things and make sure that they worked properly, because it was an important kind of warfare. It's another side of warfare, and I don't know, I just found that interesting. I think the film really, you didn't really take it too seriously, because Rutger made me laugh all the time at what he was doing. It was just very funny. I found it, but interesting. And I enjoyed sort of castles and anything with a castle in. I'm normally on board. They must have been smelly, freezing places to live. Imagine living in a castle. It all sounds romantic, but it would have smelled like anything, and it would have been freezing. Absolutely, pretty awful. So I think that's we'll get on to. I think that may just. Oh, I did watch all of Little Britain, the first series. I've got on DVD I just stuck that on, and one of those things that you watch. Oh, I'll just watch one episode. Oh, I'll watch another episode. So I ended up watching the whole first series, and you know what? I think it's still blooming funny. They're great in it. Absolutely so funny. I couldn't stop laughing. It's just it has its same pattern.
It's got its moments, great. Hasn't it? I think it's still pertinent, to have the computer says no. That you still have people. Yeah. It's never unfunny. when you're watching something like the
I just
IT
found it,
crowd, and
yeah,
in the
yeah,
IT crowd, they pick up the phone and they say, "Have you switched it off and on again?" Because you
yeah,
still get
yeah.
customer
Actually,
service desks that you still get customer service desks
yeah.
that do that. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I love
it's
it. Actually, it's funny you've said that. I was what ended up watching, on YouTube. It came up, and I thought, oh, I'll start watching IT Crowd as well again.
yeah.
So I started watching that. That's quite addictive. You watch
And
one, and say, oh, I might as well watch this
I'm
one.
sure, to certain people of a certain age, like if you were to ask my mother what the internet is, she thinks it's a black box with a little red blinking light on it. I'm
Yes,
pretty sure
which is
that
that
she thinks
brilliant
that
gag.
you could
Yeah,
destroy the internet
yeah,
by just dropping this box on the floor, and the whole world would
yeah,
go to pot. I'm sure there are people that think that is the internet. The black box with a
yeah,
light on it.
yeah. Yeah, a really great
Yeah.
series that, which is it was nice that they did that special, didn't they? When they all
Yeah.
came back for a one-off special, I thought it was great. Um, so I think that's the main thing I've watched, and then just music. Here we are, is your favorite section. Now I've been listening to um, the Runaways. Now, Runaways are an interesting one. There's a film about them, a film biop, and I've never seen it. And I suppose it's possibly good because I think it's about Kim Fowler was the one who put the group together, was quite a control freak. But of course, it's interesting that from this we had Joan Jett, who had quite a successful solo career. Lita Ford did quite well as well.
Oh,
She was the
I'm just
sort
going to
of
go and check on my
guitarist.
mum. I won't be a minute.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. So the Runaways, I really like this. I know it's considered sort of manufactured music, but they developed as musicians, and it's quite heavy as well. And how many times do you um, get women playing heavy rock music? There's only other one band I could think of, is Girls School. Them and Motorhead. I know they did some work together, and they were promoting. I think Motorhead promoted Girls School quite a bit as well. I don't know what happened to them. They were good. And the Runaways, it was good that they were a rock band, and I thought they were really good. And this album, Queens of Noise, is good. It's still enjoyable. It still stands up. Um, and after this, the lead singer left, and there became a four-piece. I think it was Sherry Curry, who's probably disappeared into total obscurity, but they still carried on after this album. And I think I really like it. It's just something that you just put on, and you realize it's good to actually have women playing rock music. That sounds terrible. It sounds somewhat weird, but as I said, women are not portrayed as playing rock music much at all. And I remember there was another female band who never really took off. They were called Fanny, which is perhaps an
You
interesting
are?
name, but they they
Hang
were
on,
called Fanny. Have you heard of
reverse a minute. Hang on, reverse a minute. They were called what?
Fanny? They were called Fanny. Yeah. That was their name. I'm sure some other people in chat might have heard of them, but they were a serious group. I remember I've seen them, clips of them, and I've seen bits on YouTube.
There's a million jokes here. Like, have you
Yeah,
heard
I
of
know
my
there
Fanny?
is.
Have you heard of my Fanny? I mean, I could go on, right? But I won't. I'll tell you what, though. Is this a good sort of like rock sort of like band? There was a track that came on early morning this morning, right? And I thought I'd heard the band, but I'd definitely heard of this track, but I don't know how good they were. It was a band called Lush,
Lush.
and they
I've not heard of
Lush, and they came out with a
No,
track
I've not
called
heard of them.
They came out with a track called Lady Killers.
Oh, right.
And apparently they're a girl. It was a girl band mostly. Very punk, very punk orientated.
Oh, yeah.
They're punk orientated in the sort of like mid-90s, 95, 94.
Yeah, right. There was a in the first 1977 punk era. There was an all-female band, but they were quite political. They were called the Slits. Have you never heard of it, Slits?
Hang on a minute. So far, you've got to tone this down, Ian. I'm so far. You got Fanny Slits. What them? Hang on. Look, you got to calm this down a little bit, right? Because I swear you're making this up now. You're making this up.
No, I'm not. I've actually I saw them live as a support act going back then. They popped up everywhere, but they were a female. And there was another one. You're gonna laugh at, and they were from Leeds. I remember. Well, you got to get that in. They were called the Raincoats. What can I say about that? I think musically they were not that great actually, but they were sort of an indie kind of sounding band.
Sounds a bit wet. Sounds a bit wet to me.
Yeah, I know. It's almost going into fetish areas or something. You're going to say next, the Slits were quite big on the circuit. They had I think I may be wrong, but I think it could have been on Island Records who signed them. They did get a record deal with a major record label. But I don't know what happened to them after that. They were a bit political as well, which I think probably put people off at certain times. When you get a band that's very political, it divides people straight away, and that's
it was a very empowering track. It was by a band called Lush, and it was called Lady Killers.
Yeah,
it's about girls going out on a Saturday night, and then a bloke trying to chat them up, and they've done it all before, and they know exactly what the bloke is trying to get into, and it ain't going to happen.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah,
blah. Yeah.
And I thought it was quite a good track.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
No, it sounds good. Yeah. But I still think, we need to see more females doing more rock-based music. I think rather than pop music.
Well, I like Heart, don't you? Because I like Barracuda.
Yeah, I know they're Wilson sisters are brilliant. Yeah. I love Heart. Yeah, and they're going back. Their Dreamboat Annie, I think, was probably about 1976, and what an album that is! Absolute standard classic if you put it down. Dreamboat Annie, but it's still, to me, seems a shame that for some reason women have gone more into pop or soul. R&B, which is not wrong in that. That's great. Soul, R&B, fantastic.
Or country,
or blues. Yeah, country. Yeah, but not rock music so much, really.
No.
I mean, you could say Janis Joplin, I suppose, but that's going back a bit. She was quite a heavy singer in rock music terms, but that's 1960s. Generally, women don't seem to be playing rock music as much. I'm sure there are probably fringe. There might be female heavy metal bands. I don't know. Because again, heavy metal's not associated with women It's very much seen as a male thing. But as I remember, Girls' School, they were a heavy band. But that's
And
it.
yeah,
Anyhow, I probably got off rambling on.
it's strange though, isn't it, when you consider that prog rock with Suzi Quatro started off such an early stage in the 70s, and then it splits off and it's a male dominated era. A bit weird, because Suzi Quatro was right there, wasn't she? I mean, my God, 70s.
Yeah. Mind you, you can argue that Kate Bush, can't you, that is prog rock as well. You can definitely say
it's
that.
Just I always think of Suzi Quatro because it's actually she plays bass, doesn't she? And mostly.
Yes, yeah.
She's definitely in that sort of like makeup, of Devil Date Drive, and all that sort of stuff. I don't consider the Annie Lennox doing all of that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? We're talking fast, upbeat drums, guitars.
We're talking. Well, I'm talking rock, proper rock music.
Yeah, and that's what Suzi Quatro just about fitted in that. But then there's nothing after her for years. Nothing after her for years.
Yeah.
What happened?
I wonder what happened though, because she had a few hit singles and then must have.
She went into acting, didn't she?
Disappeared from the charts, but she probably was still going.
She went into acting. Concerts. She went into acting. She did. She did Happy Days. Then she came over here and did a couple of episodes of Minder, and
But she never was as big as she probably should have been. But I suppose you make career choices. But female and rock music haven't seemed to work out very well, which is a shame. But I'm sure there are ones that I don't know who possibly were, didn't quite break through, but may have been on the live circuit. And all I know is Girls' School. That's all, because of the link with Motorhead. That's it. Anyhow, let me get on then with the comments. We better start up.
Just to end it, where do you put the Go-Go's then in music?
Oh, yeah, of course, the Go-Go's. Now, because they're very pop orientated, you could say Bangles even. Bangles are very pop orientated, but they were a group playing their instruments, and I'd say Bangles were more pop. The Go-Go's, maybe the Go-Go's are a bit heavier. Interesting.
Well, I think the reason I mentioned the Go-Go's is Bangles. I think is a more refined band. Go-Go's is more rough. It's sort of like a hopscotch of different types of talent, because you had a really, really, if I remember rightly, talented main electric guitar who went off and had her own career as well. But you had Belinda Carlisle as the main sort of vocalist, didn't you?
That's right, Belinda Carlisle. Yeah. Well, the Runaways, you see, Joan Jett did amazingly well. She really was. Lita Ford wasn't quite as big, but she produced her own albums and was recognized as a really good guitarist as well. It wasn't just somebody who was just there. So, but I still think we don't get
full well my favorite's Heart. I've got Barracuda, you've got Alone, you've got These Dreams, you've got oh God's sake, I could just reel them off.
I do like Heart. Who couldn't love Heart? But those backing them are usually not female, are they?
No,
they're other musicians.
Really, if you look at Heart through the years, the only mainstays are the two sisters.
Really. That's right. Yeah. Well, the Wilson sisters, aren't they? Yeah. But they're great. I do love
looking,
them.
when I was looking through my Elton John stuff, Hart actually got up and sang what's it called?
Stairway to Heaven. I've seen them
No.
perform Stairway to Heaven on
they sang
YouTube.
They sang Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters Part 1.
Oh, right.
And I tell you what, she on the the one who's on the electric guitar, she was gorgeous on that, playing that track.
Yeah.
Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters is a favorite track of mine because it sort of tells the story of New York as a character rather than as a place to visit. You know, New York is terrible. Really, it will swallow you up. It will eat you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was interesting for those two to get up and sing that. They were doing it as a dedication to Elton John because they'd just been put into the Rock and Roll fame, Hall of Fame, Heart as a group.
Yeah.
And I believe it was Ernie Taupin that wrote These Dreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wrote that track for them, These Dreams.
Oh, right.
That's right, he did. Yeah. Anyway. Another little bit of useless information.
Well, you can't beat a bit of useless information, can you? It makes things more interesting. Useless information. Right. Okay. So let's get on then. So we have got Stephen Moles. Hello, Stephen. Welcome to our chat as usual. Good evening, Ian and Delboy and everyone in the chat.
Stephen, you are a sick individual. Putting that computer AI generated piece of thing with Ian singing some sort of like awful. What was it? What was the track?
I know. Yeah.
What was the track?
I saw. Yeah, he hasn't got you yet, has he?
He ain't gonna like me to either. Is he gonna turn me into Elton John? Is he?
Yeah.
I'm halfway there with the glasses.
And then we've got Cy saying, "Evening gang, hello Cy." And then we've got Bob, Bob Art, evening all. And then Cy says, "Hi, Bob." And then we've got Tony, yay! Yeah, evening Ian, Dell, and chat. And there you are. You're great welcome. You always get Tony. And then Cy says, "Oh, that Mrs. Dell is doing well." There you are. He's passing on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Si. I do pass on all of the nice things from you guys, and especially from you, Si. Yeah, it is what it is at the moment. I'm waiting for my sister to turn up now so we can get my mum to bed, but there you go. Not here yet.
Right. Yeah. And then we've got Bob with Evening Tony. Then we've got Jamie, Muckman Movies. Hey up, chaps. Yeah, there we are. I'd do that best as I could. Bob Art. Goonies was a movie I loved. The gold at the end I really wanted. Can you name another movie where the money made your jaw drop and you wished you could pocket it? Oh.
Well, I suppose you could name Pirates of the Caribbean. Not that I'm really into the blooms.
Yeah, I've done. I've seen it.
I mean, I suppose what you're asking really is it doesn't have to be money. It could be the prize at the end, because the Ark is a prize. And I mean, that was the Ark of the Covenant, looked like a gold sort of like casket. And that was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Not that you saw any, you couldn't see inside it because you'd die. So the prize at the end, or the gold? The gold.
Yeah. It's quite a difficult one, isn't it? Right.
Oh, yeah, because I mean, you've got the Italian job, you got Goldfinger, you got. I mean, The Wizard of Oz is a letdown because it's basically whatever you want.
Actually, it really is actually The Wizard of Oz. It is a letdown. I
What
thought
a
at the
letdown
time.
that is. What a letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. That's a bloody good question. Say bloody good question. Bloody good question. Well, I've come up with a few, haven't I? Where's yours?
Yeah,
you miserable bastard.
I mean, I could come up. I'll tell you what was watching the film is Robbery with Stanley Baker, which is based on the Great Train Robbery, and the amount that they took. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. The absolute amount. I mean, and when you see them all distributing it, all this loads of money, it's, you think, how on earth did those manage to get it? Well, they didn't. There were a few that got away, didn't there? 3 of them, I think, got away and went and got caught. But it was an amazing amount of money. Absolutely. Never been done like that before. That's the one that just. I remember seeing them doing it, or how well organized they are after they've done it, and they're all dividing it up, and just suitcases and suitcases full of all this money.
I think the one who deserves the money the most in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is the man with no name. I mean, he went away with the sacks, didn't he?
Yeah.
Of
course.
I mean, he went away with the sacks of money, going, "Stuff you, you're going to hang."
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's quite good, really.
Yeah, I think that's why I can't think of it anymore. But yeah, it is. It's a nice thing, isn't it, to see that you go, look at all that money. Yes, treasure.
Yeah.
Treasure, I suppose, as well. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I hope that's answered it a bit. Anyhow, we've done as best. And then we've got Si saying, I finally got around to watching Sinners this afternoon. I absolutely loved it. Every time people say that they've loved that film, I want to go and see it. I want to watch it. I can't wait to watch that film. Yeah. And then we've got Jamie saying the money in Die Hard accompanied by the music, though. Interesting answer, that one. Die Hard.
Yeah.
And then we've got Tony, evening Jamie, and then we've got Muckman saying, all right, Tony. All right. And Steve's Gaming. Hi, guys. CIG Dell. What that means.
Spectrum is green.
Right. Oh, I get you.
Oh my good God! Then, you come from an age where Captain Scarlet, Joe 90, and everything, and you didn't get the SIG reference.
No.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, I didn't know. Question 1: how many of those cookies did you eat, Del?
1.
There you are.
I felt guilty after he turned around to me and said that he'd eliminated biscuits and cakes totally out of his diet. I thought, you bastard. Cheers. Thanks for that. I'm just
Yeah.
eating a packet of them. You get.
Yeah. Yeah. No, never eliminate biscuits.
No,
Biscuits.
I only had one. I only had one. That was because my sister had just took them out of the oven, and I went, "All right, that's nice. I'll have that."
Yeah. Well, you got to try one, and then perhaps try another. You know, just keep
Oh,
trying.
by the time I got out there, she scoffed the lot.
Yeah.
The bloody cow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then
here's a lovely tray of biscuits that you're not going to have. Thanks. Cheers. Thanks for that.
No, that's torture. You shouldn't do that. You should never do that. James says, Bob, did you want any of those films that were recommended to you last week? Yeah, I was put corrected that watch. And then says, what's your favorite film from a former SNL cast member? Is that Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, remember I was talking about it, and I said to you that John Belushi went and did Animal House, and Dan Aykroyd did the Blues Brothers, you know, and all of that sort of stuff.
Oh, right,
Steve Martin was never a Saturday nighter. He was a guest, but he was on it a lot because he used to do this act. He used to do this act with Dan Aykroyd, where they were, I think they called themselves the Wild and Crazy Guys. They used to be swingers. They used to swing their pants type. It was almost like Vic and Bob swing your pants type thing. It was. They used to say, "Let's go and talk to those foxy ladies over there," and all of this. And they used to go like this, go over there. Yeah. Foxy ladies, would you like to do? You know, they sort of like talked in an Albanian accent or something. But Steve Martin was on a lot. But let me see. So if I was to name it, Steve Martin, it would be The Jerk. I definitely would say Animal House for John Belushi. I will put Dan Aykroyd for Blues Brothers, even though John Belushi was in it. I will say Bill Murray. I still prefer Groundhog Day over everything he's ever done. But I do like things like Stripes, Animal House, Lost in Translation, St. Vincent, number of others. I'm trying to think now. Eddie Murphy was a guest on there. Well, was a Saturday Night Liver as well. Let's see. I mean, there's no end of films you could mention of his, couldn't you? You got Coming to America, and you've got Trading Places, haven't you? Let's see. I'm going to let you name a few now. I mean, I've given you quite a few.
Well, the one that I really, really love and always will love is the Blues Brothers. It's such a great film because it's the fact that it's got all those artists as well in the film.
It's heavy music orientated, isn't it? Heavily music orientated.
I just love it. Absolutely, it's one of my. I'd put it as one of my all-time favorite.
It's got Carrie Fisher in it. So what can you not like? You know, isn't it?
It's just a great film, and it makes me smile and feel good. Who could not feel good with that music? And it's so It's an uplifting film, actually. It's a comedy, but it's so uplifting as well.
Saying that then. Why did Blues Brothers 2000 fail?
No, that's a good question. Why did it fail? I don't know. It doesn't feel like the first one did. I know it's a stupid thing to say almost, but
you said about the music, you see, and it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, but why did it?
I mean, to me, I mean, I think a lot of people were smarting over the fact that John Belushi is gone. You shouldn't try and
maybe
stand on.
that's
It should have
yes,
ended there and then.
yeah, yeah. I get that.
John Goodman,
Yeah,
as funny as he is, can't even
yeah,
stand in the shadow of John
yeah.
Belushi.
That's right. That's obviously going to taint that film. It's yeah, yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, but there is something magical in terms of the feel of the Blues Brothers. It's a film that you can just watch and watch again. I could just put it on, watch it once and then watch it again. It's just a great
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
Um, Absolutely, I love
Of
it.
course, it's got
I
it.
do like Groundhog Day a lot as well. I mean,
Yeah,
who could not love Groundhog Day? I
it is
mean,
that is a
the
brilliant film.
concept. I love the concept of Groundhog Day. It's just brilliant. It's so good, just so good.
But I mean,
Yeah,
Blues Brothers has got its favorite moments. But I must admit, when I was a kiddie, they used to show on Tiswas, which was a Saturday morning show for kids.
yeah,
They used to show
yeah.
the destruction of that precinct every time, right? The whole
Oh,
destruction
right.
of that precinct
Yeah,
with a police car driving. And I used to think to
yeah,
myself, oh, wouldn't it be great to drive a car through the center of my precinct in my town and just smash up
yeah,
every window going along? It would be
yeah,
absolutely fantastic. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Never happened. No.
I remember with Blues. I think the reason I love the Blues Brothers, I went to cinema when it came out, watched it, and thought, "Oh my God, I've got to watch this again and again." And then I watched it, and then I was in the University Film Society, and
Yeah.
they was started showing it as well. It was one of those films I could just keep watching it and watching it over again and over years. I've just still love it. It still feels fresh to me.
Yeah.
And you don't often get that with some films that you can appreciate why you enjoyed them and they're of that particular time. And it still feels fresh, even though it's all those years ago. It's a great film. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, let's see. We've got Wee Bob out. Muckman, I tried to get hold of a few, especially Station Agent, but did not succeed. I ended up only watching a few movies. Ghost World and Death of a Unicorn. Yes. I wonder what I bet you liked it. I didn't like. I just don't know what to make of Death of a Unicorn. Steve Martin in the Jerk is a good one, Si. Yeah. Good choice, McMahon. Si says, I'd have to say St. Vincent with Bill Murray. I honestly think that he should have got at least get a nomination for it, let alone win the Oscar. That happens.
It's a good film. It's one of my
Yeah.
top five Bill Murray films.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting what Weebo Bart says about Death of a Unicorn. Death of a Unicorn felt like a mishmash. It was, I think, but I enjoyed it. I did get strong Jurassic Park vibes mixed with hotshot type humor in some bits. That's what I mean. He didn't quite know what it was. I mean, he even tried horror in it. I think that's its weakness. The more I think about it, it couldn't decide what it was as a film, and that
I'm just getting a bit worried about my mum, so I'm going to go and see what's happening with
that's
my
all right.
sister. She's supposed to be here now. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Death of a Unicorn. It just felt disappointing. I think I wanted more from it. But I always think, I say, Jenna Ortega is always. Every time I watch her, I think, wow. I mean, I don't know how old she is, but she's quite young. But she's always good in the films I've seen her. And for me, she made the film. I don't know, she was just so good. But I think it's a film. I said, would I really want to rewatch it all again? I don't think I would. I think I'd think to myself, well, I don't think I will change my opinion that much on it. I know that's probably a bit unfair, but then I'm thinking, well, there's lots of other films I want to watch, so I'd probably move on to that. It's not one of those films that made me think, oh wow, I've got to watch this again. No, the only reason I would watch it, maybe, as I say, would be to try and change my opinion on it. But you shouldn't watch films to try and change your opinion all the time. But I'd be interested to say what other people felt about it. You enjoyed it, and that's good. I can see it has got enjoyable things in it, but I've had that with a few films, haven't I, recently, where a film doesn't quite know what genre it is, what doing this and that. That John Malkovich film was like that, wasn't it? Opus. What was that all about? What was that trying to do? And this was a better film for me than Opus.
You could class Brazil in that manner.
Yes, Brazil's a good film.
The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. That's another one.
Oh yeah, now I think the problem with Baron Munchausen is it's too long. I think he's too long. But yeah, that struck me as an interesting film. It's one that kept your interest going. That I've only seen it once. I've never felt the need to want to see it again. But I do acknowledge it was.
There was a thing on YouTube this week that basically turned around and said the Adventures of Baron Munchausen was such a loss to Hollywood that Robin Williams actually said, "Can you take my name out of it?" And they didn't. They did take his name out of it, but they renamed him. They gave him a weird name, apparently. Yeah. I remember the Adventures, and it won 3 Oscars.
I can't believe it. It's a mess.
It's a mess.
It's an absolute mess of a film. I tended
to find that a lot of Gilliam films that he wrote outside of Monty Python were messes.
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to do? Brazil is class, but it's a mess because it's
Brazil's
like,
different league.
What are you trying to be?
Yes. It's like trying to put all your info, all the directors and people that he admired. He's trying to shove it all in.
Barbarella is a mess, but you can put down, You can put down Barbarella as well. You could give Barbarella an excuse because it's French. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can say it just didn't translate. You know.
Yeah. I find Barbarella's an interesting film because a lot of people really rate it very highly, but I don't think I do. I've got it and I've watched it twice and it hadn't improved, and so I probably won't watch it again. I got a bit bored with it. Isn't it awful to say you're getting bored with a film? There's certain sections in Barbarella which get a bit boring for me. And perhaps I needed to be dropping some acid or something and tripping out, and I might have appreciated it even more.
I'll say this about Barbarella. I still love the film, still like it.
But
the trouble is, the very beginning of the film, which is the bit that I could watch probably quite over and over again, is actually
a lot of people.
Is actually the boring bit, because all they're trying to do is just discover sex in the different ways that you can possibly do it. And the interesting bit, which is the bit that I don't watch quite so much unless I'm watching it all the way through is the bit where that the angels lost its wings and they're living in a maze and all of this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I bet you any money people have watched the beginning of that film more than they've watched the end, unless they've watched it all the way through, right?
Yeah.
But why? When the beginning bit is the boring bit. That's all it is. She crash lands, the ship gets fixed, another bloke turns up in a sled, he has sex with her, he goes off with her, and I'm just going, every single thing just seems to be, how many times can I get Barbarella to take her knickers off or something, right? Which is what the first 45 minutes of that film is. Really?
Yeah.
But it was a French film, and I watched it when I was a teenager, and I just thought I fell in love with the sort of colors. I think of it really. It was a very psychedelic film. I thought it was really weird. It was almost like I haven't seen so much fur, right, in a spaceship since I saw somebody put carpet over the dashboard of a van once. Right, they'd actually put floor tiles or something on the top of their van, right? And I thought, this is Barbarella's spaceship. This is, you know what I mean?
Kinky spaceship.
It was almost like it had 4-ply carpet on the top of this dashboard. It was really weird. It was a van. It was the van. It was one of them Ford Transit vans. Weird times.
What can you say? I have got it in my collection, but I've only watched it once, and then I watched it originally. I think I saw it back in the day. I don't know. It's one of those films.
Yeah.
James says, just been checking. I don't think Steve Martin was a permanent cast member. He must have just guessed.
This is what I was saying. This is what I was saying, because he was more than just a guest, because he actually turned up like every other week or something, for one whole season. Because he did this sketch with Dan Aykroyd about the crazy guys and all that.
Yeah. So he says, I'm going with Eddie Murphy in Bowfinger. Bloody love that film.
Oh,
leaves me in stitches every time.
I like Bowfinger. I don't think it's a great Steve Martin vehicle, because Bowfinger's got Steve Martin in it. But yeah, that's a good film. It is a funny film. It is a funny film.
No. And then Steve Game says, Ian Dowd, do you like disaster films? If so, which one is your favourite of the 70s and which is your favourite of the 80s?
Well, I like Earthquake. That Earthquake's got Charlton Heston in it, isn't it?
Yeah. What about the 80s?
Well, we had finished with the airport films as disaster films, hadn't we? They were a 70s product. They were a 70s, because in the 80s, the last one was Concorde, wasn't it? And that was in 1980, dead on 1980, I think.
Yeah.
Disaster films of the 80s. I'd have to think on that one.
Yeah,
I mean,
is Deep Impact 80s?
Yeah, that's 90s.
That's 90s. Oh,
well, 90s 2000, because it came out at the same time as Armageddon. It's 1999, I think.
Yeah. You see, they're the ones I would think of in, but for me, 70s has to be Tower and Inferno, because I mean, what a cast!
Well, you got the Poseidon.
Is
the Poseidon Adventures just at 1980, or is that 70s again?
Oh yeah, Poseidon Adventure. Yeah, that could squeeze into 80s, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And we are talking, and by the way, we are talking disaster films, as in there is a disaster that happens, not, oh my God, this is a disaster.
Yeah.
I could certainly put in quite a few films.
That's a good one. Yeah, we talk about disaster films.
I could certainly put in a few films that fit into the, oh my God, what's this shit?
What have they done? Oh, dear. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really count things like the Andromeda Strain as disaster films because those are like science fiction pandemic type films. They're not a disaster. They're not a natural disaster. They're a man-made disaster, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, do you know Poseidon Adventure? I've just looked it up. It's 1972.
Christ, I'm well out.
Yeah, that's what it says here. 1972.
Wow.
And the sequel, Poseidon, Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, was 1979. Oh, I thought it was not as early as 72. Poseidon Adventure.
Si's just come up with the perfect one for the 80s, and I think he's a bastard for mentioning it. You git.
What is it?
Meteor.
Which is it?
Meteor.
Oh yeah.
What a bastard! The amount of times I've mentioned Meteor, saying where I went to the cinema and saw that as during cinema club, and the Orpheus gave me nightmares for bloody weeks. Orpheus did. I even know the name of the bloody big rock in it. For God's sake.
I know I've got one. Is Dante's Peak 1980s?
90s.
I know that it's got Linda Hamilton in it. I like Linda Hamilton. Is that in 80s, Dante's Peak?
I thought it was 90s.
Could I include that one?
1997.
Oh, can't use and Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones. I bet that's similar time.
Yeah. Anyway, as long as I know that I've got things like Earthquake in, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, for me, Towering Inferno, because to get all those cast members together, I mean, you've got and you've got the Steve McQueen and Paul Newman, and then it just goes on.
I mean,
Fred Astaire.
At the end of the day, Irwin Allen was king of disaster, and the reason for that is he did all of those films.
Yeah, it's obviously all these Hollywood actors were really happy to appear in these films. It was good publicity for them, I suppose. In not a very big role. Often the roles weren't that big, were they? There were the appearances. But there were. You see, Towering Inferno, I just remember everywhere when it came out, the posters, it got so much publicity and everybody was talking about it. And, wow. Well, that's why it sticks in my memory. Yeah. So let's see. We've got Sai saying, Muckman, I love Bowfinger. And then Tony says, not guilty. I think that's a reference with you. Michelle Pfeiffer is so hot in Lady Hawk. Oh God! Now you make me think I should watch Lady Hawk. Oh,
Lady Hawk. As I said, it came to mind because you brought up Rutger Hauer, and it's set in that sort of like 15th, 14th century type sort of thing. And Lady Hawk definitely reminds me of that sort of thing.
Oh, I'd love to see that Lady Hawk. Definitely, it sounds good. It's not Meg Ryan.
Yeah, remember I was getting it all wrong.
Was going to watch Flesh and Blood the other night. I'll have to get round to it now. You've reminded me again, Ian. Yeah. See, I'd be interested to see what you think about it. it's a film that there's a lot of interesting things in it. Yeah, definitely. A lot of interesting things. And Rutger is just, he just makes me laugh in it. Just his performance. I don't know whether it's intentional. It must be intentional. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, brain a bit rattled tonight, Si, but we'll focus. Cheers. That's nice. Andy Powell is the score, which is the Alan Parsons, really, right? Yeah. Who's Andy Powell? Is it? It's not.
Main keyboard and electronic
Oh, he's a
synthesizer.
keyboardist. Yeah.
From
I
the
was
Alan
thinking of
Parsons
another
project.
Andy Powell. I was thinking of Wishbone Ash, and I thought, well, Wishbone Ash are not going to be involved in that. Yeah, they were guitarists. Oh, look at this. Channel rating just escalated to an 18. What?
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised.
It's gone down to 10 now.
You filthy person, you, with all that bloody slits and fanny and stuff.
Oh, is that kind of 18? Yeah. Oh, crikey.
I won't be long.
Okay, right.
Yeah, he's not going to sell many ice creams at that speed, is he? There you are. There's an old joke for you.
Yeah. And then we've got Weebomber. Next, we'll start a channel called Del Station. Del Station. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. X-Ray Specs were great, even though they ain't an all-female band. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got the X-Ray Specs album. Wow. They did one album. Polystyrene. They were a great band. I mean, a punk band with a saxophone and old Polly belting them out. That album is fantastic. I'm just trying to think. Is it Germ Free Adolescence, the album, maybe called that? Because that's the title on there. But yeah, absolutely. I saw X-Ray Specs when a club in Leeds. They were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely loved them. But she was different. Sadly, she died. Well, I think quite young, really. I think it was it could have been late 40s, 50s. But I really love Polystyrene. Yeah, she was great. It's a great album. Absolutely love it. The one album they made, punk and a saxophone. Wow. Just absolutely great. Great album. I used to fancy Susie Quattro like crazy. Steve's gaming. Well, yeah, she was a bit hot on Top of the Pops, definitely. Especially, playing that music the way she did, really belting it out. Yeah, she was brilliant. Yeah. Oh, great. Now you're going to educate me, which is great. This is exactly what I wanted to know. There are loads of females in metal music. Spirit Box, Ginger Hailstrom. Oh, wow. Lacuna Coil, Nightwish, Arch Enemy, Kitty Nervosa, Within Temptation. Are just a couple of bands. Wow, some of them sound really interesting. I'd love to definitely give some of them a listen. That's what I want to see. Some great rock music. Yeah. Metal. Brilliant. I think that's great. Wow. So we're a soft rock band of women. Yeah, we're kind of soft rock. Though I think the Dreamboat Annie is a lot heavier, but it's there's a big gap when they go into 80s. They go, I'd say, more mainstream, really. Because I still enjoyed them, but yeah, I like the harder rock style. And on Dreamboat Annie, you get a mixture of both. You get that, but also you get some real heavy stuff as well. In fact, that's one that appeals, the mixture of, like, you get the acoustic stuff mixed in, like Dreamboat Annie itself and Magic Man. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. And then Steve's going, when it comes to music, I'm really into 1950s doo-wop right now. I don't, that's an area of music I don't really know that well. Interesting. It's that period before rock and roll, probably, or influence into rock and roll. I don't know much about it, but yeah. And then I always wanted the gold from the end of the Italian Job, of course. Yeah. Who wouldn't? Tony says, long time since I saw it, but doesn't Die Hard 3 involve trucks carrying cash and gold? And then, yeah, you're right, Tony. Yeah. So there's a good example. And thumbs up there. Question. Since it's the start of anime, what is your favorite anime film? Oh, bummer. I'm not really into anime. I don't think Delboy is that much, but he might know a bit more than I do. I'm trying to think of an animated film that I like, but I suppose you have to choose the anime is the Japanese stuff, because I could easily choose an animated film, which is when Disney were doing proper stuff, 2D, which for me is always Pinocchio and Jungle Book. They're my two favorite Disney films. But an anime, the Japanese stuff, I've never really watched or been into. I suppose it's just an area that hasn't always appealed to me, which maybe it should do. I don't know. I've just not checked it out really, anyway. But it's very big. Yeah. So that's my answer really. I don't know about Delboy, but we'll see what he says when he comes back. But if I had to pick animation, not the Japanese one, then it is always, I prefer the more traditional ones rather than this. I mean, I like Toy Story. Don't get me wrong, Toy Story is great animation, but that DreamWorks stuff doesn't grab me as much as the traditional 2D animation. Just me, but I know the Japanese one is 2D, isn't it? It's something I just not. I don't know. I've just not got into. I don't really not watched it really. It's perhaps something I should investigate sometime. I don't know. There's so many things you should investigate, and it's getting the time and the films to do it. But yeah, that's my answer. That's probably not very helpful, but that's how it is. And Steve's going, CIG, laugh out loud. Give the man some glasses. Thank you. Yeah, well, look, I don't think it'll help. Look, these are for close reading, so they're not very good for my reading on there. I can read better without them. In fact, I'm sure my eyes are getting better, and these are getting worse putting the glasses on. Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah. You know I'm like this. You like it, really? Not really. I can't read half of it. And then we've got Frank Calder saying, hi, people. Hi, Frank. Thank you for joining us. And Tony says, evening, Frank. And then we've got Jim Jam Movies and TV. Good evening, gentlemen. Well, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. And then he says, working my way through give us a clue disc done. Oh yeah. I saw you showing that. Wow, what a box set! Wow, all those episodes. God, you're going to be busy for a very, very, very long time. But what a great box set! Wow, yeah, I do remember that. I always remember it. Lionel Blair's in one of Team Captains, and Una, is it Una Stubbs? Yeah, it was just a very entertaining program that just passed away. So I think it's as you say, probably mentioned, it's the guest stars that are fascinating. Who's the guests on each team, and some really fascinating guests. Yeah. Actually, I was watching on YouTube a clip. Apparently, what immediately I found interesting, it was apparently Larry Grayson. A lot of his stuff he's not. You can't get it, and it said this was the whole surviving episode. I think the only one of an episode. And what immediately fascinated me was Diana Dawes was on it, and it was a really good interview with her. Their interaction together. Diana Dawes is a great actress, I always think. And it was a time when she did that comedy series, Queenie's Castle. And it was really good just watching it. But it made me think, I didn't realize that ITV had lost a lot of shows as well. I always think of the BBC because BBC did lose and junk loads of shows, but I didn't realize that the ITV, for whatever reasons, I don't know the reasons behind it. Probably Delboy might know a bit more about it, but why ITV was junking shows, I can't, I find it interesting to know why they were doing it. I thought they were able to keep their shows. But this is what I was looking through YouTube, and that was, it said it was the only surviving episode from Larry Grayson's show. Fascinating. I'm sure somebody might help me. I'll press the one. And then Frank Collins says, Ian and Del, superhero films are lazy and a very tired subject. Discuss. Aha. I think I kind of disagree to some extent, but I think what has happened, and I think this is generally happening, that question I think stems from what we've all been talking about is, the too many of these Marvel films have come along and people are getting this thing, oh God, not another of these superhero films, are the ones that are unknown. Because I still think, the staple superhero films, like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, all these are all always popular. I think it's the lesser ones that have caused the problem. You can put out those films and I think they'll do well. Even the Batman, I know, got a lot of criticism, the last one, because it was very long. But I still think that people enjoyed that film, quite rightly. They enjoyed it. And it was, as I remember, I think it was still successful because they wouldn't be making another one. If they flopped that badly, they don't make the films. And Superman's coming out. I mean, what's more iconic than Superman? And I still think people want to see those kind of films. The problem has been that the people have seen lesser films as they see it in their eyes, and they're tired of that. Whether that's a genuine fatigue or whether it's just this attitude, oh, it's them again. they want something different, but maybe not. You know, it's like things run in cycles. You know, at certain times, like we talked about disaster movies, they were all in vogue, and disaster movies were the thing. Westerns, of course, going back, westerns were in, and then they weren't as much. And maybe this is going to happen to superheroes, that a time will come and people, that's it, they've had enough. But they'll always be around, and they'll always have that ability to come back. When you've got Superman and Batman, these kind of Spider-Man, of course, these are the kind of heroes that will always be there. I think they will. They're just so iconic. They've become iconic. They've become something that is culturally wider than just a comic book. I think that's important. You know, I'm not a comic book person, and therefore I don't know. But these people I know because they've come in to the popular culture and they're recognized. So I think I'm hoping that the Superman film will be really good. I really hope it is good. But even if it's not as good, Superman will always be around. He'll always come back in whatever form. And same with Batman. They're just there. And Spider-Man. They're just there. They're going to always be there. So I can see why you're asking that. Has become a very tired subject. But I don't think those particular ones that I mentioned are going to go away. They'll come back. Even if they have a rest, they'll come back. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I can sort of add to what I'm saying. Delboy might have his own opinions on that. He knows more about comic books and stuff. But anyway, what do you think then?
Ooh, it's a loaded question. It's a loaded question. Well, I agree and disagree, just like you.
Yeah.
I think it's a tired subject, and I think it's a tired subject not because of how much is coming out, but because I'm sick of hearing people knock it, or other people say yes, but consider this. It bores me to tears that another here's a 30 golden Easter eggs that you missed in this film, and here's 25 reasons why this film is a long way from what Marvel used to be, and all of this sort of stuff. It's what you have to look at is that something was fresh and something then became what I considered to be the norm, right? And superheroes films have been the norm for a long time now. You have a scale, and at some point it has to plateau, right? And you hope it doesn't go down, right? You hope it doesn't go down, because if it does, you tend to find it dies a death, and you don't hear about it for about 20 years, and then it comes back. Westerns were that sort of like mainstay for 30 years, as far as I'm concerned. 40s, 50s, 60s, sort of mid 70s, it died a death, came back 90s. It's like 15 years or so before you really saw anything. But Marvel, when you see, it's when you see something that says superhero films are lazy. What do you mean by lazy? Like the production value, the story? What's lazy? Because the problem with, and I can only really talk about Marvel, because as much as I love DC, Marvel was what I collected. Marvel, I thought at the very beginning, hit that middle ground of fan service and people that have never heard of a superhero in their life, right? So they introduced you to characters, but they also gave the fans something that wasn't too far from what they'd read as a kid. Do you know what I mean? But Marvel, but the worst thing that happened to Marvel was they were bought by Disney. And then,
yeah.
and then COVID came along. You see,
Yeah.
COVID hit the brakes really hard, and Disney, I tend to find, like to destroy things from the inside. So you had a great producer in someone like Kevin Feige or someone, you know, whatever his name is, right? Who did such marvelous stuff. But then when you're talking about something that's multi-tiered, that has a hook in a TV series that then goes into a film that you then have to watch the TV series to then know what the next film is about. There's a TV series. That's when I think things fall to bits.
Yes.
It's sort of worked in the early days because there was this show called Agents of Shield, and it went for about 6-7 seasons, right? But Agents of Shield over in Britain was on Channel 4. It wasn't a Disney channel, it wasn't a Netflix thing. So basically you could sort of get the joke or understand it a little bit. And actually, it was quite exciting to see something that was in an episode, and then you went, "Oh, they've brought that into the film! My God, they all interjoined it. It's really quite. This is really quite clever." But the trouble with Marvel is they went down a route called multiverse, and that's where they alienated everybody because Marvel. Marvel also were, or should I say, Disney, not Marvel. Disney were in the process of buying 20th Century Fox and all of this, so they could bring in all of these other characters that they could never have, because the only place they could go was characters that nobody had ever heard of or was even interested in. I mean, I'm not interested in Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi's Bruce Lee in a comic. Right? So am I really interested in that? No. Right?
Of the Eternals.
The Eternals. Well, you see, the Eternals is Kirby's sort of like it's sort of like his dream project that didn't even really do well in the comics, really. What the Eternals is, he called them the Lost Gods, because what he wanted to say was a little bit like Alien, right? He wanted to say that there was, before the Earth, before there were humans, there were these interstellar beings that set the seeds, set the seeds of the human race on our planet, and they were there so that they would worship the gods, right? A little bit like Stargate and all of that sort of stuff, right? So it was a bit of ahead of its time. But the trouble with Eternals was they chose a director that was absolutely fantastic, but is well known for muting colors. She uses a palette like browns and grays and all of this. Kirby was all about reds and yellows and vibrant, crackling cosmic energies and all of this sort of stuff. Well, you know, and then you've got a weird concept where you're supposed to believe that not only are these heroes suddenly starting to appear, but the human race as a whole were planted by these interstellar Foundation people. It's a bit too much. It's a bit too. It works as a comic, but alienates the audience because you're just going too far now. You're going down a route that people just want to believe that there are the person next door could be a hero or a villain. You know what I mean? That's what superheroes were to me when I was growing up. I always thought, do you know what? Secretly, I could be Spider-Man. You know what I mean? I'm the nerd. I'm the person who's picked on. But actually, during the night, I put my bloody spandex suit out there. I'm spinning webs and I'm beating the shit out of people. Right? You know. But then when I get to bed, I've got to wake up in the morning and go to school, and I'm finding that my mother hasn't got any money, and I've got to try and get a job as well because we're going to be evicted from our house. That's Stanley's soap opera. And that's a soap opera that is hard to do in film subject, but I'm going to end it there because the only thing I'm tired of, the only thing I'm really tired of is the knocking of things or the bigging up of things that really you just should clear your palate and watch it for what it is.
Yeah.
And I said at the very beginning of this year, I am not going to knock something until I've seen it. I am not going to, Alien's going to be terrible because for the last 3 Alien films are awful and they don't know where they're going with it. So this thing's going to be a piece of shit before it's even out. No.
Yeah.
I want to
actually. You've mentioned Alien. There's a TV series, isn't there, coming out?
Yeah, it's coming, Alien Earth or something like that.
Yeah, interesting to see what that is.
But when it comes to Superman, the only thing that annoys me about Superman is they're bringing in all these other characters like the Super Dog and things like this. I really am not interested. I am not interested in a dog that can carry Superman across the whole of Antarctica to the Fortress of Solitude so that he can be then resurrected because he's been beaten the shit out of by somebody, right?
No.
I really am not interested. Not interested one bit in a Super Dog. I'm not.
Yeah.
And I may be poo-pooing things, but Marvel's biggest mistake was Disney and integrating with Disney Plus and going too far in one direction with this multiverse crap.
Yeah. And this
now, I've heard this, right? I am not interested in Doomsday because it's Tony Stark in another set of armor, but he's bad. Right?
Yeah.
That is somebody that basically is going, Tony Stark's Iron Man and Doctor Doom's in Iron and so basically he's just playing the bad guy and you don't know what the story is. We ain't got there yet, and it's about 2 years away. You're already bad mouthing something before you even get to it. And the multiverse is all about Earths that are different to what we know. So, in other words, there's stories that we've never even heard or thought about. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So Doctor Doom to me is a bloke called Victor Von Doom, right? Who basically was a rival to Reed Richards at school. He had an explosion occurred that basically blew his face off. He got expelled from school because he was dabbling in the mystic arts like Doctor Strange. Found a Tibetan temple. They gave him a suit. He then became Lord of Latvia and he swore revenge on the Fantastic Four. That's Doctor Doom, right?
Yeah.
What's that got to do with Iron Man and Tony Stark? Absolutely nothing. Right? So if Tony Stark, if the reveal is Doctor Doom takes off his mask and he looks like Tony Steele, it means it's another universe. It's another Earth where Tony Stark didn't become Iron Man. He became Doctor Doom for some reason.
Yeah.
Now that's an interesting story to me.
Yeah.
That's an interesting story. So why knock it? Why are we knocking it right now?
Yeah.
Why are we taking the piss out of something that ain't even out there yet?
Yeah.
And that's where I want to end it there. Really?
Yeah, can I just ask you, did Tony Stark die in the comics like he did in the film? Is that taken directly from that?
There is a storyline where he died, but again, people who die in comics come back.
Yeah.
For a time, you had somebody called Iron. For a time, you had a character called Iron Lad. In fact, actually, you've seen it yourself. Thor suddenly turned into Lady Thor. Whoever holds the hammer is worthy to have the power of Thor. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily have to be a bloke or a girl. And Disney suddenly caught hold of it and went, "Oh yeah, we'll have a Lady Thor. Yeah, that's a great idea, isn't it?"
Yeah.
Thor hasn't got his hammer anymore. It's been destroyed. I know what we'll do. We'll have his girlfriend turn up, and she's the one who's got all the bloody leather-clad outfit on and carries the hammer of Thor. You see what I mean? These work as comics, but don't necessarily work in celluloid. You need somebody to put a gagging mask on things and say, do you know what? Seriously, do you think this will work with our audience? Because I've got a funny feeling that's going a step too far. In other words, you're bringing in another gender type thing into a character that doesn't need to have it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because right now Spider-Man is Miles Morales, and he's a black Hispanic teenager.
Yeah.
Right. To me, Spider-Man will always be Peter Parker, a white male from the 60s, a nerd.
Yeah.
You know, that's Spider-Man. Where's this black Hispanic lives in Harlem thing?
Yeah.
And then again, you're asking the wrong person. Marvel need to make this a new character for people to carry on for the next 40 years. Peter Parker can't go on for another 40 years. Christ, it'd be 120, and it'd be bloody falling off of his perch, wouldn't he? Jesus Christ! Even I can't slow down time that much that he's still in his 30s when he's 120 years old as a character. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. You can't. You know, so even I recognize that. Now, I did hear that there was a thing about anime. What was that?
It was asking if I watched any anime. I know I've not watched any anime. I've never have done. I've watched animation, but anime, the Japanese one, I've not watched
manga.
any. Yeah, manga. None of that I've not watched.
Well,
have you watched
anime and manga? I could probably talk about manga more. I really didn't know that Battle of the Planets was probably one of the first things that I ever saw as a anime manga, sort of like Japanese turned into Western stories, because there was also one called Marine Boy or Aqua Boy where he chewed aqua gum and all that sort of stuff, and that again is a 60s 70s cartoon that I didn't realize came from Japan. But my first jaw-dropping moment was probably Akira. And Akira was something that even Barry Norman just turned around and said the animation on this is absolutely jaw-dropping. But story-wise, I have no fucking idea what's going on. Excuse my French. But it made me go out and buy the books. I actually went out purposely for the books, and they were in volumes. They were like phone directory volumes that you read from right to left. You know, I mean, you had to read it from back to front. You know, I had to learn how to do that. I mean, it was not the easiest thing in the world. And it started off a whole VHS tape phenomenon over here, because you started to get things like Fist of the North Star and all of this sort of stuff coming out, a Sailor Moon and all sorts of stuff. I never really got into Fist of the North Star and all of that. But the next big film I saw was a total sexual orientated bloody cartoon called Legend of the Overfiend. Oh my God, and that was really weird. You could turn around and say that's taking things a step too far, because that's got tentacles going up bits and bobs that you don't really want to think about. But it suddenly exploded to the point where I couldn't keep up with the amount of different shows that there were. So it's difficult for me because I could never keep up. I'd never be able to keep up, and so I dropped it. So really, if it isn't things like Akira and Legend of the Overfiend and Fist of the North Star, let me see. Castlevania, yeah. Like I said, those ones I sort of know. But I tell you what, the VHS tapes, they were coming out 3 or 4 times a month, right? And I think there was even a weekly publication, like those Star Treks that came out as a magazine with a VHS tape stuck in the front, that the news agent used to have. They started to bring out those, I think, as a publication. And it was a fantastic time if you were into that sort of thing. If you weren't into that sort of thing, it was a bit weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anything else that I missed?
No, I think that's it. So we'll get on to the next one, and we've got Jim Jam Movies and TV. Got a network series in the post called Keep It in the Family. Have you heard of it? That's the one I think you showed on your video. I've not heard of it, to be honest. Have you heard of Keep It in the Family?
Wasn't that written by Brian Cook? Famous for comedies during the 70s and 80s, Brian Cook. But I only just about remember it. It had a character in it, a little bit like Margot. It's got a prissy sort of
right, yeah.
It's all that middle class, keep it in the middle class modern family, 2.5 children type thing. Ever decreasing circles type thing. It was that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't, and so from my point of view, it sort of like got sort of like mixed in with a lot of other stuff. I'll tell you comedies that I've just started to watch again. Do you remember this from the 70s? The Cuckoo Waltz.
Oh yes, I've heard of that one. Yeah.
That's Diane Keane.
Yeah.
And a Fine Romance with Judi Dench and her husband, Michael Williams.
Yeah, I've got that first series on network on that one. Yeah.
Which to be quite fair, you shouldn't really remember it, other than I remember that Michael Williams was very charismatic because he was a bumbling, silly sod, and Judi Dench, the prima donna, sort of like prissy. She was almost like a 13-year-old in a 39, 40-year-old body. And then years later, I found out that they were married in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just go, oh, wasn't that lovely to know that it was all about a show where you thought that these two would never get it on as a couple, but in real life they were married anyway and had kids.
Yeah. So yeah.
And a crying shame to how Michael Williams died. I think he died of cancer.
Yeah. Now this one says, "Evening, James. Saw your unboxing of that, James. How many episodes? There are a lot, I guess. That was the give us a clue. I think he's talking about this big. Did you see him unboxing that big? It was a massive.
I'm still
thing.
catching.
Give us a clue.
I'm going to put my hand up and say I'm catching up with an awful lot of stuff. But I did see that.
Well, that's what it was. As you can imagine, I don't know how many series there were a lot.
I did see that this week Jim Jam did an out and about, and I bought some videos, and I've just caught up with that one.
Yeah,
just caught up with that one.
Yeah. But there was this absolutely massive box set, as you can imagine, of Give Us a Clue, and it's got all them to watch. Stack of them.
Yeah, because I got about halfway through Jim Jam's video. He was explaining how he had really helped out this guy in the shop because he wanted the royal family or something.
That's right. Yeah.
And I thought, what a nice thing to do. It just goes to show you what just what a nice person Jim Jam is, because I met him, you see, and I know he's like that.
Yeah.
And 20 pence, what a bargain! Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I know why things are like they are at the Royal at the Heart Foundation. If something has got Series 1 written on it, they have a standard price of £3.
Wow.
Anything that says Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, Series 4, and they're in separate things, they're all £3. The Crown Series 1 is £3. The Crown Series 2 is £3. MASH Series 1 is £3. It's amazing. That's they just put a blanket price.
I loved his story where he says, "Oh, you can go there and get it for 20p next door." I thought that was great. Absolutely,
I'm sure
great,
I'm sure that made them. Sure that made them smile immensely when they found out.
Yeah, well, did he told that story? It was wonderful. Anyhow, this is. I think this might be a clue behind you. The answer to this question. What is your favorite super animation Jerry
Super
Anderson
Marionation. Super Marionation. As in marionettes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know yours is Thunderbirds. Mine's Captain Scarlet.
Yeah, I'm gonna say mine changes from week to week. Well, not week to week. It can whatever mood in. Yeah, Thunderbirds obviously it's such an influence, but Stingray had a big influence
Stingray
on me
was
as
gorgeous.
well. I love Stingray. Absolutely love Stingray.
I love the way Stingray starts off in black and white and then goes color.
Yeah, it's one of the because I was very young when I watched Stingray. It kind of caught my imagination, so that means quite a lot to me, you know. And then having it and playing with it in the bath, you know, fantastic, great time.
Troy
Tempest. When you think that.
I think everybody wanted to be Troy Tempest when when you're a kiddie.
It's quite special, isn't it? But on the other hand, I think I love Captain Scarlet. I do love Captain Scarlet because it's darker. It's a different tone to it in many ways.
In many ways, Captain Scarlet shouldn't work. In many ways, Captain Scarlet shouldn't work. Jerry Anderson, I don't think ever thought anything through really very well.
Yeah.
If you were to think about it, here's a man who's indestructible. So where at all is the suspense? Because every week,
because you know he's going to come back.
He will be back to life.
Yeah.
In the next episode. Right? Yeah. So the only reason you were watching it really is to find out how the bloody hell do we end this battle with the Mysterons and the humans, right? How the hell are we going to end this, right? And they never did.
No.
But without Super Marionation and Captain Scarlet, I don't think you'd have UFO. And UFO works on such a same level as Captain Scarlet to me, because you've got all the model work that you've got from all the model work that you've got from Captain Scarlet. Yeah. But you've then got all of the live action with Ed Bishop and all of the rest of the crew. You've got all those lovely women, you know. And of course, it was ahead of its time. I mean, you had the whole of the moon base commanded by women.
Yeah.
A whole lot of them up there were women, and they were the sergeant majors of the whole planet.
Yeah.
And then you had, and of course, it had everything because you had Skydiver, which was there was the underwater and everything. I mean, absolutely everything in this show.
There was something for everything. Everyone,
and you had an alien presence that was only coming to us because they were harvesting body parts from us. What a scary prospect coming to us because we need a new kidney or we need a new set of lungs or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's frightening.
Yeah,
and it was great because it was topical at the time as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Space 1999 is easier to get into than UFO, I think.
Yeah.
You can understand Space 1999 because you've got a plight, haven't you? You've got Moonbase Alpha now careering through space, never knowing how they were ever going to get back. And it's a different story. And you had these lovely eagles and all of this sort of stuff. It was psychedelic. It had a rock sort of like soundtrack type to it, to the main theme. You had these American stars in it that with a mixture of Australian and British stars in it each week. But at the end of the day, again, it's stupid because if the Earth got ripped away from, if the moon got ripped away from the Earth, there'd be no bloody Earth. It'd be gone. Right? And how the hell does Moonbase Alpha stay lit when it's moving away from the sun? And how fast is it going?
Yeah.
Christ, it got to another bloody galaxy by around about episode 3. I mean, how fast this thing goes?
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus. So it doesn't make sense. But it makes sense on a boyish. It makes sense on a boyish point of view. You know, my adventurism gets over the top of me in regards to science fact. I mean, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Even with Star Trek: The Motion Picture, they got over the fact that the Enterprise needed to be lit, so you could see it. It's heading away from the sun. It's going past. You know, it's going past Saturn and all that sort of stuff, right? You can see it. And the thing is lit, but it's lit because it's got this sort of photo, sort of like paint that's on the outs. It's explained actually in the comic more and in the book, but it's got a sort of like a resonance paint that makes it sort of like light up, but also it's got the lights from all around it, bloody lighting the damn thing up. Do you know what I mean? But at least they worked out that. Yeah, we understand where the fact that it's flying away from the sun, you couldn't see it. You know what I mean?
I think what makes UFO so trailblazing, if you watch it now, is that it's a lot of it. They went into episodes about relationships. The aliens were nothing really to do much with the story. They just out of the other thing. There's a lot going on in UFO. That's why UFO, I think, over years has become more appreciated, I think, for what it is, because it's not what it appears.
Its headquarters is underneath the ITV TV station, you know, for God's sake.
But ITV obviously didn't know what to do with it. They had no idea when they were presented this, and they thought, we can't show this. You know, we can't. They're not going to appreciate it. And that's why it often ended up late at night.
It had one of the best receptions and viewing figures over in America for the very first 15 episodes. You know,
well, that's
it was gonna be green lit, and then they took it off.
Yeah.
Jerry Anderson must have been so upset because all he ever wanted to be was a director of a real full acted film, you know, with real actors and none of this puppetry stuff.
Well. Tony says, give us a clue, I meant. Yeah, that's the thing, you know, he was showing the big network box set. 13 discs, Tony, from 1978 to 1984. So you've got a lot of watching. 13 discs, quite a lot there.
Yeah, was it Michael Aspel that was the end of that show, or was it?
I think he was the beginning.
He was the beginning, right?
Yeah. And then Jim John Movies and TV. Fireball XL5. I like that as well.
The thing I like about Fireball XL5 now is probably, I think, the main theme works. I wish I was a spaceman, the fastest guy alive. You know, I think that's a very good 60s pop track.
Yeah.
But other than that, it hasn't aged very well. It's a bit like Twinsel. You know?
Tony says, I remember Keep It in the Family vaguely. Never really got into super animation. I've got UFO, enjoy that.
Super Marionation is not for everybody, but for me, the thing with Super Marionation is that you see the advancements over the years. So you've got these you got these puppets that worked, you know, back in 1961, you know, going back that far. When you get to Thunderbirds, you thought, wow, this is good. But then when you got Captain Scarlet, it was like, how big a jumping quality have you got now? My God, these things look bloody human.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking heads that are actually the same body in proportion as the bodies, which you didn't have with Thunderbirds. You know, their heads were always bigger and that, because that's the only way. That's the only way you can animate the heads and the lips and stuff.
People used to laugh at the walk, the puppets, the way they walked and whatever.
Yeah. But in Captain Scarlet, they didn't walk at all. They put them on conveyor belts and moved them along. And they just moved their arms to give the impression that they were walking. And that's because the miniaturization of all of the puppetry and that made it virtually impossible to get it to walk.
Yeah. Steve Gaming says, Jim Jam. Normally, my answer to any Jerry Anderson, which is the best, is UFO. But you specifically, I suppose, said super animation. So Thunderbirds. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like I said, Thunderbirds is a lot for a lot of people, but for me, I loved the ships, but I never got really into the Tracy family. Never really got into the Tracy family. I thought this is a rich family. They've even got a bloody island, bastards. Right? I live in a 3-bedroomed house, you know, in the middle of a street somewhere, and these people have got an island and are flying around in rockets. Prima donna bastards.
And you know Lady Penelope. Lady Penelope is a spy.
You got Parker, who's an ex-con, who's chauffeuring your about. Weird. It's just weird, really.
Steve goes, he says, I just saw your question, and yes, I've been saying that for years now. All right. I think the superhero genre is like a lot of things. They've just saturated the market with them. Yeah.
Yep. And I wouldn't disagree with that, but I will also turn around and say this. As much as they saturated the market, Marvel didn't have anything out there as a character really before, I don't know, in the 1990s. It was really the year 2000 that really stepped the game up, right? I mean, obviously you did have Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk, and you did have the odd thing like Captain America. I think they did a Doctor Strange. They did a Blade. Blade started the whole thing off, believe it or not. But just think about it. All through the 70s, you've had Superman, you've had Batman, you've had, you know, DC were living that world. Do you see what I mean? Marvel had nothing.
Yeah.
So, of course, am I going to take something away from them when they had to wait so long from the 60s all the way to the 2000s before you even got a film of any stature whatsoever? No.
Yeah.
But they saturate the market because suddenly you've got a hot tier product. Man. You know, so
Sai says, has anyone seen the trailer for Together? It stars real life married couple Dave Franco and Alison Brie. It looks like it's going to be a body horror. Looks creepy as fuck. Oh, well, we'll watch out for that. Is it going to be this year's Substance? Together. That's the one to look for.
Sounds cheesy to me. Do you get it? Brie.
Yeah.
Brie, cheesy. Brie, cheesy. Eh?
Yeah.
You got, come on.
Okay. I know. It was so bad. Yes. Thank you. Brie isn't a very tasty cheese, is it really? It's not a one.
It wasn't supposed to be in the context of a joke, was it? You stupid.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. 12 Monkeys is my favorite Gilliam film. Yeah. Actually, I think I might agree with you on that one. I like 12 Monkeys a lot. Yeah.
It's a very, very, very good film.
Did Gilliam direct any of the Monty Python films?
Co-directed, didn't he?
Yeah, I was trying to think. If
Didn't he co-direct? Didn't he co-direct the Holy Grail along
Yes,
with
I think he
Hayden?
was a co-director. Yeah,
And they argued and bitterly argued between the two because one was considered himself a better director than the other, and the other one was trying to sort of like be a better director, and they basically fell out with the direction on where it was going and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
I think a little bit.
And then Muckman says, just need to watch the opening sequence of Barbarella on repeat. Yes, I can see why. Everybody sees that. So Superman 4 is a massive disaster film from the 80s. Oh, yeah. And he's laughing there. Yes. Oh, dear. Black Sunday and 2 Minute Warning, two disaster films not mentioned too often from the 70s. Yeah, Black Sunday I've heard of. I think I might have seen. I haven't heard of 2 Minute Warning. I've not heard of that one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, wasn't Meteor from the 80s? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was. That's why I said that's the perfect 80s one for a disaster film.
Those two aren't natural disasters, though. Involve terrorists. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, so 2 Minute Warning is not a natural disaster like you know.
Yeah. This one's interesting. Not to bring the mood down, but Threads was an 80s disaster TV film. It's human caused, isn't it? You can argue nuclear war,
like Andromeda Strain, like I said.
Or he said, that's an animated one, isn't it? Oh, Even When the Wind Blows. That's an animated one. Yeah, it's quite good. Si, thanks for cheering me up. He says, that's good. Ian, you bastard. Oh, I wonder who says that word a lot. You just clicked past my Lita Ford comment. Where? I didn't see a Lita Ford comment. I'm sorry, I always do that. I must find it. Oh, got it, but it's right up here.
Ian, let the bastard wait, the little shit. Who gives a shit what you think? Just because you wrote it down, don't mean we're going to show every bloody comment, you little muckman git. Get on your bloody horse and sit down back at the back of the queue.
Oh, I can't. It's going right up there. I can't find it. I'm sorry, Jamie.
Sod him, and his little Lita Ford friggin' comment. Who gives a shit? He knows I love him. You know him and Ty and Tony and all that. I love
him. I'm sure. Actually, it seems to happen every week. I'm sorry, Jamie. You must think it's deliberate. It's not me.
It is deliberate.
Sorry.
Why don't you just understand? We do it on purpose because it annoys you, and we want to annoy you, so we keep doing
it. I've caught Delboy's rant disease. Apologies. It's all right. Don't worry. It's all right. I'm sorry I couldn't find your Lita Ford. But thank you anyhow. At least you know who Lita Ford was. Yeah. Ian may wind back to it. I tried it. I couldn't find it. But sorry about that. Doesn't look like it, Jamie. There you are. I'm sorry. I've stopped doing it. Sorry, Tony Hawk. I used to love Vixen, a great female rock band. Oh, right. Brilliant. Vixen were proper 80s air rock. I used to fancy lead singer Janet Gardner. Oh,
why? Because she's got more hair than you.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Akira is my favorite anime film. The animation is incredible. And Bookman Movies, great film score too.
Very much so.
Girls' School. Yeah, I mentioned Girls' School. About the only one I can remember as a rock band are a good female rock band. Yeah. Tony Hawk, not anime, but I did watch a couple of practical effect films this week. Lost World, 1960. Oh, and Mysterious Island. Much prefer Harryhausen's effects and the latter film too. Oh, you like Mysterious Island? Yeah, Mysterious Island's good.
Actually, they showed on film 4 this week.
Tony.
They showed on film 4 this week a 4K version of A Million Years BC with Raquel Welch and Ray Harryhausen effects.
Oh yeah,
that was really weird watching that.
Oh, that film!
I mean, I could turn around and say 4K knockers, but actually, I was looking at the special effects. Honestly, I was there to watch the Ray Harryhausen effects. It has nothing to do with Raquel Welch in a bikini. No, it's got nothing to do with
it. Tony says, don't remember that Larry Grayson show you mentioned, Ian. Just Generation Game. Yeah, well, this was, as I say, I was looking on YouTube and it said he had a show called Shut That Door on ITV. I think it only did one series, but the only was that one surviving episode. That was all, so, but yeah, I remember him on Generation Game, yeah. The MCU should have taken a 5-year hiatus after Endgame, but Disney wanted an instant return on their investment. The oversaturation on cinema and TV is to blame for lackluster superhero films of late. Yeah. I think maybe
you can't argue the point. I mean, you could even turn around and say everybody keeps looking at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I could turn around and say, and why not? Because to be quite honest, DC have not had a hit in years and years and years. The reason that Disney fail is because they're always on the curtails of Marvel Cinematic Universe. So they're bringing out as many films or nearly as many films as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but every single one of them is a failure. That's the trouble. So people keep blaming the Marvel Cinematic Universe because you need to knock something that was at the top, and DC haven't been there for a long time. Not when it comes to cinema.
No, the Batman films would have been the last.
Yeah, the closest.
DC, right? Yeah. I think you made an important point, and I think this is true, that when you start putting TV references and stuff into a film, it's wrong, isn't it? Because it's just not right to put that in a film, because not everybody,
especially if it's hitting an important plot point, because you're alienating somebody that's never caught the in-joke of watching the other program. So it's like, what? I don't understand what that's all about. What's that all about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that means, though, the longevity of those films is ruined, because over years, people might look at them films and think, because it'll have all gone, the TV stuff by then. But people might look at them films and then think, well, they've spoilt the films because they don't understand the references in the films, which will devalue the film.
The only people that would get the references are the people that buy the physical media of the film, because there'll be a making of documentary that would explain why that was in that plot hole. probably show the
yeah,
scene that actually explained it.
yeah,
But for anybody else who's just
yeah,
watching the film broadcast on telly, or
yeah,
you know, or on a
yeah,
streaming site somewhere, they'll be going, "What the fuck's
yeah,
all that about?
yeah,
What
yeah,
are they talking about?"
exactly. Yeah. Now, this is interesting. Sai says, I really enjoyed Thunderbolts. I enjoyed its low-key feel and isolated storyline in only a couple of locations, not all over the universes. That's an
Which is
interesting
exactly
thing.
what I
So it's a
was
good
saying
positive.
when
Yeah,
it comes to multiverses. It's too
yeah,
wide and large a thing, and it basically goes over people's heads and it alienates people.
yes, yeah,
Thunderbolts is going back to an earlier time where it's things like Guardians of the Galaxy or the very first Avengers film.
yeah,
It's compact and it tells a story in one particular frame without going into bloody off planet and all over the
yes,
shop and all
yeah,
that sort of stuff, right? So
yeah,
yeah, it works.
yeah,
And the reason that
yeah,
the Brave New World doesn't work is because as much as Captain America is actually the Falcon in the comic, right? That did happen.
yeah,
Everybody wants to see the old Avengers back, but you can't. They're dead. You know, I mean, Black
yes,
Widow's gone. All of this sort of stuff.
yeah,
The only thing Marvel can do is keep the Avengers name in history, is to come up with a new Avengers,
yeah,
which is why
yeah,
you've got all these weird characters suddenly turning up, like Miles Morales as Spider-Man and all this. That's because they're going to be the new Avengers.
uh, yeah,
And then you've got another three sections of more films to come, that will
yeah,
span the next 10 years, because you've got now
yeah,
a superhero team called the New Avengers. Do you see what I mean? And you go,
yeah. And isn't Hulk getting another one? Is he with
yeah.
this? Is it Red Hulk or something? I don't understand that. I mean, to me, what's all that about? What's this Red Hulk or whatever
Well,
it
Red
is?
Hulk was there in the
No
comics.
idea.
Red Hulk, no,
Exactly. You just said it. Yeah.
Red Hulk was there in the comics because it was Thunderbolt Ross who irradiated himself with gamma radiation to go and kill the Hulk for once and for all. So he turned into the Red Hulk, right? But in this, the Red Hulk is the president.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonder what people are going to react to that film. It'd be interesting.
There you go.
Jamie says, I used to buy every VHS manga release. I love them all. It opened my eyes to a new form of animation. Yeah, and it is popular, very popular, the manga. And then we've got now anime. I always remember people going on about manga before anime. Yeah. Ultimate Teacher was an hilarious manga anime. A substitute teacher turns out to be half man, half cockroach, and ends up fighting the school kids. Oh, right. 105, give us a clue episodes. Blooming heck. You're going to love all that. 105 episodes. Oh dear. But only 98. Oh, only 98 on the DVD release due to 7 episodes featuring celebrities investigated. Oh, for certain offences. Oh my giddy aunt. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I didn't realize he appeared on that.
Those 7 episodes, they ended up being on the next season of Crown Court, also released by Network.
Yeah. Yes. I didn't realize that Yeah, those certain people. We know them all. So I'm guessing that Stuart Hall and Ralph Harris appear
Yeah,
on
they
a
did.
couple.
Yeah,
I'm
they
sure,
did.
yeah. I
Yeah,
bet Ralph Harris did. He was a lot on.
yeah, he did.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about Mr. Hall. Was thinking about Harris. Maybe Guys and Gals Savvy was on some too. Possibly, I would imagine. Yeah. Bedtime. We'll watch on catch up. Goodbye, wee Bob Art. Thank you as always for joining us, and hope you're listening to this now on your catch up, which you will be.
Yeah.
Apparently, Freddie Starr was on some. Yeah, he was investigated. Don't remember him being suspect. Yeah, I think he was very dodgy. But it was for quite a while. And in the end, they decided not to pursue the charges. But it was quite a while because he was complaining about it hanging over him, and it changed him into. You could see how ill he was. He looked really ill when all this was going on, and of course he died, didn't he, Freddie Starr?
Yeah.
His
His wife constantly denied it. He himself mentioned that in his early days he was a revel causer, but as far as he can remember, everything was consensual. But he did happen to mention, he said, if there was one, I don't remember it. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not that type of person to ever have crossed that line. And I think the police, if I remember rightly, dropped it because anything that could ever be drawn against him was so far back they couldn't get any evidence against it anyway. And he himself admitted that at that period of time there was drugs going around, drink going around. You're never going to remember every nook and cranny. But his wife categorically denies it or any of that was going on. My mum loved Freddie Starr. Even though he was coarse, she loved the fact that he sang.
My mum was exactly the same.
He had a really good voice, according to my mum. My mum said he had one of the best voices for a comedian you'd ever get to have.
But your mum said exactly what my mum said. Exactly those things. They went to see. They used to, because my mum and dad used to go to Blackpool. It was like their mecca, and they used to see Freddie Starr quite a lot. He used to pop up at these shows. Live shows, and they really liked him.
He used to sing these lovely songs, and then he'd replace the lines in them.
And we'd get his Mick Jagger.
I'm going to say how it's going to be, but it sings songs like Honey, right, which is a famous ballad, Honey, see the tree, how big it's grown, I remember long ago it was just a plank, you'd say, or something like that. It's supposed to be a twig, and he'd put the word plank in it or something like that. I surprised her with a donkey, and it'd start using these words, and everybody would be cracking up because everybody knows the words. They were that old, these ballads.
Did he ever release a straight? Did he ever release a straight LP of him singing?
I don't know.
Ken Dodd did. I know.
Yeah, Ken Dodd did.
Ken Dodd. I know, because my mum and dad used to have some of his records. I couldn't stand him. It frightened me, did Ken Dodd.
The famous song that he came out with was in the charts for something like 300 and something weeks or something, wasn't it? It was like 3 years. It was in the chart. It went out and back in and went out and back in so many times. It was silly. You never heard about it because you only ever heard the top 40, and it was always out of the top 40, But what I'm trying to say is it was in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s for bloody ages. You know what I
mean? Tony says, night, Bob. And Si says, night, wee Bob. James says, night, Bob. I said, I'm off to see Lita Ford at a rock festival in Wales. It's also got Wasp headlining. Oh, well, fantastic. You have to tell us about that. How Lita Ford is, how good yeah. Oh, that's good. When is that, I wonder? I presume it's summer sort of time. Fantastic. I have to see Lita Ford. Who does Delboy think he is? Umpty Bogart.
It's not very nice, is it?
With his fedora
Hat.
hat. Oh, he's gone about the hat.
I didn't like the. I don't like the. I don't like the Humpty reference because that means I'm fat, But there you are. But I am, I suppose. Yeah, you could go all over that.
Oh dear. And then he's got that face there. Watched Marlon Brando as a US ambassador in a fictional Asian country based on Vietnam, involved in the fight against communism. The Ugly American, 1963. Oh, right. Marlon Brando, what an interesting actor he is. Absolutely fascinating actor. Yeah. I wasn't sure whether we should mention the hat or not. Oh, yeah.
Should I tell you how that happened? My sister happened to mention when you went to Sainsbury's, did I see you bring a hat back? And I said, yeah, I brought a hat back because I've got to do some gardening and it's getting quite warm out there. And I thought I just wanted something that would basically keep me cool out there.
Yeah.
And she said, well, put it on then. So I put it on.
Yeah.
And she went, no. And I went, well, it's for the garden. It's for nothing else.
It's not for a fashion show.
And then when I came back in here, in my haste to get back onto the camera, I forgot I took it. I forgot I hadn't took it off.
Yeah.
So I did that. You see.
So you've got Si says, is Delboy looking for the Maltese Falcon? There you are.
Oh, there you are.
What a hat does.
Why can't I be Indiana Jones? I mean, what's wrong with
here
that?
He is. But I think we'd said this before. He says, "Can I be the first to say Jerry Goldsmith?"
But you see, he failed. He failed because I mentioned it right at the beginning, and he wasn't around,
or
he wasn't listening.
Yeah. Tony says, last watches of the week, 2 Burton films. Oh, Medusa Touch. Yeah. I've seen that one. Love it. And Villain, which vies for my favourite British crime film with Get Carter and Robbery. I know exactly those 3 are absolutely brilliant.
That's that 1970s gangster film where he rules London with a sort of rod of iron, but then the police are always after him. And if I remember rightly, it ends at a dock. Yeah, it ends at the docks, doesn't it? With he antagonizes people.
Yes,
Villain.
Villain ends that. It's good. It plays it really quite well. And Ian McShane is in it.
Because when he was down, if I remember rightly, when he was down, there was a very clever bit at the end of the docks because he turned around and said, "You've got no one to antagonize because all those people that you can see across the water and everything, you can't even tell who they are, but they know who you are. Yeah, and therefore you can't antagonize them. You can't even go around their houses and find out who they are because you can't see them from here." But they know you because you're such a celebrity. And that was the end of that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I do remember that. It was a very clever ending, I thought.
Yeah, it's a good film. I think the problem for Richard Burton, he's highly acclaimed, but he didn't make enough really good films, he's got some good films, but a real massive amount of real great films. His talent was never reflected in all his films. There isn't enough there because he made some Well,
He
he
was
was
too.
another one who just
He was too pissed out of his head, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably. Do you know? I won't be surprised if he lost parts for that he won't
Yeah.
cast in certain films because people say, "Well,
He admitted himself he had two vices, and that was he was drunk too
Elizabeth
often,
Taylor."
and
Yeah,
Elizabeth Taylor.
yeah, and they ended up, as we know, in a very difficult. I'm being diplomatic. A difficult relationship. Hey, love and hate relationship. Yeah. Didn't realize Tim Burton directed those two. Which
two?
Yeah, I don't know.
I forgot.
No.
Oh,
I don't know.
Medusa, Touch and Villain.
I don't think Tim Burton directed those.
Don't think. Villain is the 70s film.
Yeah. No. It must be a reference to something else.
Yeah.
Wait,
Monkman knows more than me, so yeah. I'm not going to say.
He's a younger. Yeah, I mean,
oh, hang on,
much younger.
Whoa. Ian, he's already said it was a joke. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, we didn't get it. Sorry, we're being a bit slow.
I will put my hand up and say I'm the slow one here. I have to tell you that.
Yeah,
I am definitely slow.
I am. Yeah. So I'm going senile, so I just watch it. It's a great double bill there, Tony. I've watched 2 James Dean films for the first time ever: East of Eden and Rebel Without Cause. Yeah, I've never seen any of those films.
I've watched Rebel Without a Cause, but I've never watched East of Eden.
Yeah, there's Giant, isn't it? I think the 3 films that he made, but I've never watched them.
Did you see the YouTube video that was up this week saying the 10 films Steven Spielberg class as the greatest films ever made? It was an interesting. It's an interesting list, I will say.
Selection.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
And a lot of things I didn't realize. I tell you.
Yeah. And then we've got Tony saying, listen to the commentary for the first time on Medusa Touch. Oh, Kim Newman. Always great, Kim Newman, isn't he? And director Jack Gold. Newman is so entertaining. He's not only entertaining, he's a blooming clever dick as well. He knows so much. I don't know how he retains all that information in that brain of his. He knows everything, doesn't he? He does. He's just great. Richard Burton was the star of both, Jamie. All right. Freddie Starr had a couple of albums, if I remember. So he did go into a recording studio and make some. I saw Villain a couple of years back. Richard Burton is fantastic in it. He is.
Yeah.
He's great. How does Sadistic... he does Sadistic very well, Jamie. A combination of both Cray twins shortly after their conviction. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. Delboy's the Southern England version of Indiana Jones in that art. Yes. I literally posted that 2 seconds before he said Indiana Jones. And you're saying it was a joke with regard to Tim Burton. Tony was referring to Richard Burton. And then Tony says, sorry, Jamie, I thought it was a genuine mistake. And they're all having a laugh there. And then Tony, good excuse, I thought, as it's getting late. Hint, hint. And there we are, nearly here. And we are at the last one. It says, I thoroughly enjoyed both James Dean films. I've got Giant to watch next. And now we're finished. We're at the end. And yeah, thank you so much Delboy, for being here, and we've had another good time. And thank you, everybody that has put down any comments or just been watching us and listening to us, and anybody on playback listening to and watching us. Thank you for listening to and watching us. I'm going to watch Supergrass on Tuesday. Oh, got Supergrass. They're from '90s, aren't they? Britpop era.
Oh, you mean,
right.
You mean he's going to see the Birmingham band Supergrass?
Yeah. And then Si says, "Nighty night, guys." And then Tony says, "Night all." And Jamie says, "Adios, gents. May the rest of your week go well." And thank you. The same to you.
I wonder if anybody commented on the lasting legacy of the confession films that I talked about last week. Did anybody leave a comment?
No, I didn't see any. No.
Ah, interesting. No. It was just something I brought up in a hope that it might bring up a comment or two.
Yeah. I mean, I think they were mentioned, I think, in the discussion, but not, a great deal. I don't think the question was probably asked. They were mentioned, but that was it. Anyhow, I say thank you, everybody that has been listening and are watching us. And if you're on the playback, thank you as well. And thank you, Delboy, as always. You make this really great. And thank you so much. You've got a question before you go. When are you doing the 7 Samurai video, Delboy?
Yeah, I even intended to do it over the bank holiday weekend, but it's all down to my mother, you see. As soon as you see, because if I try and pause it and then come back, he says
he's looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I really want it to look really good as like one whole thing, without it being disjointed. And it really is a passion project of mine, especially after I watched what Steven Spielberg said about it as well. By the way, it is one of his 10 films that super influenced his career, should I say. So there's a lot for me to bring in. So yeah, I definitely want to sort of like mention McMahon as the inspiration for me getting that film out. So yeah, I want to do it right, really.
Okay, thank you, Jamie, for joining us. And
by the way, you better start thinking about a game that he's got to give me soon, because I tell you, I've just started bringing back those friends that asked me to play a game. Right. And I've done 2 in 2 days, so it ain't going to take me very long before I get to him again and start saying, "Oh, you, Booker, what game are you going to ask me to
play?" Right then. So, as I said, thank you, everybody. And I'll let Delboy do his normal farewell.
Oh, no, it's not. We do it together, don't we? And it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night. And it's just a 2 Ronnie's gang. Now we do our own, where I go, salute, which is my way, my Frankie Howard way of saying goodbye.
Oh, sorry, there's another one. Yeah. I've got a list of games. Don't worry. So you're going to get a list. And I'll say my farewell as well.
And then, so it's salute from me, and then go on.
And all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.